I cannot tell you how excited I am to introduce our keynote speaker for the afternoon, Shazi Visram. Shazi Visram is an entrepreneur and mother committed to bettering the world through business that is socially, financially, and environmentally enlightened. She's the founder and chairmom of Happy Family Brands, which she led to become the #1 organic baby food company in the US market, with disruptive innovations that have democratized organic food for new families. Her focus is rooted in an unflinching dedication to the health and wellness of children and families around the world. As an advocate of social entrepreneurship, she's actively engaged as an investor and advisor to companies innovating for a brighter future. She holds a seat on the board of Environmental Working Group and serves on the Board of Overseers at Columbia Business School and the Columbia College Board of Visitors. She told me earlier at a conversation that she has a new venture that she'll launch in early 2020, and I hope she'll at least give us an inside window on what that new venture is all about. Finally, under Shazi's leadership, Happy Family was recognized on the 2012 Inner City 100 list as the #1 fastest growing inner city business in America, with a 5-year compound growth rate of 205%. Please join me in welcoming Shazi to the stage. Shazi?
Okay, I know that sounds really cocky to come up with the Rocky music. And I asked for it because, #1, I felt like you guys might want a little lift me up at the end of the day. And #2, I'm allowed, I think, to play the Rocky music because I grew up in a motel room in Fultondale, Alabama, and I feel like I can relate. So I want to ground you guys in the fact that if I can do any of the stuff that was just mentioned, obviously I believe in each and every single one of you, and I'm just here to share my story and hope that in some way it can inspire your journey and allow you to, reach your highest potential, fulfill your dreams, and really make life meaningful. And when I say making life meaningful, to me, being successful and making money is actually a very small part of that. And so I'm here to share. So this is my family. That's the Days in Fultondale where I grew up. My dad was from Tanzania, super charming, biggest heart, coolest guy you've ever met. He was a truck driver in the Mount Kilimanjaro region of Tanzania. And that's my mom from Pakistan. They grew up their whole lives with dirt floors under their feet. Moved to Canada, where I was born, and when I was 3, they bought a motel from a man in a village that my dad had grown up with in Tanzania, in Birmingham, Alabama. Or Birmingham is fancy for where we were. We were in Fultondale, Alabama, and so. The reason I put this here is I just want to share with you that, in a way, and I've been very privileged because I've had access to a great education in my life, but I grew up in that motel, and the one thing my parents did is they said, we're going to send you to private school. So I would show up in my Catholic school outfit, 1st through 3rd grade, and 4th through 6th grade I went to a Baptist school in Alabama, which is interesting. And because, being a Muslim in a Baptist school in Birmingham in the 80s is no big deal. And the thing that I learned throughout this journey is that the people in your life, the people you surround yourself are your role models. They're the ones who help you. And it is wonderful to have access to a great education. And I did. But, it's my mom and dad who really educated me and made me who I am. And I'll get back to that. But one of the things that they did by bringing me to this country and my brother is to give us the opportunity to not just be successful, like I said, but to dream big and to do big things. And I always say, if you want to do something big, you really have to dream big. And you have to feel like you can do it. And you know, my dad only went to the 3rd grade. I mean, I would be with him at like Sam's Club and have to show him how to write out the word wholesale on a check. But he always told me, Shazi, you are a lion. And he would tell me that I was a lion, and he would remind me that, you know, don't ever forget that you're a lion and you can do anything. So I did later on go to Columbia Business School, and the funny thing is, I was the black sheep at Columbia Business School, but now I'm on the board of Columbia Business School. But and the company that I started, which I'm going to tell you guys about in as an exciting way as I can, has become pretty big. We'll probably do over $200 million in revenue this year, if not close to 300. We're not only the #1 organic baby brand in the country, we're still the fastest growing. That was 2012 that I got to win this award. We're still the fastest growing baby brand. And it's 2019. Thank you. And I've had so many mentors that have helped along the way. But what I'm here today to talk to you guys about is how the mission and the why has driven me to keep doing what I'm doing, and also to share maybe a little bit about what I'm doing next. I hadn't planned on it, so we'll see about how that goes. But my mission, so after all of my time in Alabama and coming up to New York to go to school, I realized that I couldn't spend my time working on something unless it really resonated with me, because I felt like my parents had sacrificed so much for me to get to that place that even though I actually wanted to paint pictures and be an artist, it felt a little self-indulgent. It almost felt like, you know, I'm here for something bigger. And if I want to be creative, why don't I be creative and use what I was given, which was access to some of the most scrappy business people I'd ever seen. My mom and dad moved to Alabama, run a motel, do all these crazy things. I mean, I got to watch all of that, and I finally realized, you know what can be as creative as art? And I would say the second most creative thing in the world you can do next to having a child, but is to create a business and affect change. And so I was inspired one day when I realized that the children in our country were really suffering. And the trajectory of their health was on a downward spiral despite us being such a wealthy country. And I recognized that if there was one thing I could do with my life to really go full force into, was to help children. They're so innocent and perfect and pure. And I was given this opportunity to not live in a developing country with a dirt floor. How could I create that opportunity for others and create a better chance for them to have health? So the mission of Happy Family is to change the trajectory of health in our country. And why that was important to me at the time when I saw this, and remember, I'm a 26-year-old kid. I'm talking to a friend, she has twins, she's super smart, she went to Harvard. I always thought she was like the most incredible person, you know, amazing career, amazing family, just everything about her, super healthy, like yoga, the whole thing. And she was telling me she was a bad mom because she didn't have the time to make all of her baby's food fresh from, you know, ingredients she picked at the farmer's market. And I'm thinking, how can you possibly think of yourself as a bad mom or a bad anything? You're such an inspiring person. And I thought, isn't there something better? And she said, you know, it's just these jars. And I started looking into it. And what I found was that, you know, 30% of children today that eat the standard American diet will get adult onset diabetes by the age of 12. 16% of toddlers were obese. That's like an 18-month being obese. That year, actually, that I started looking into this, the American Pediatrics Association started recommending that children get on Lipitor for life at the age of 12. before pushing diet and exercise. Just go ahead and get on Lipitor. And, you know, asthma, ironically, neurological disorders, which I'll mention later, ADHD, I mean, now is 10% of kids have ADHD. And all of these things, see, this is like one of those lists where, to me, you can show me a list of some really hard stuff, and we would have to assemble neuroscientists and people from NASA and a lot of like really, really smart folks in a room to come up with a solution. But to me, the solution on this one was simple, and it was, how can we create something better to set a blueprint for a healthier life, create a brand that inspires people to do something fresher and more natural and bring people back to nature when it comes to food, starting from the very beginning of their life. And if you think about it, if you really want to change behavior and make a difference, starting with a new family is a perfect place to change behavior, because you teach your kids and they take it to school and all of their friends all of a sudden are recycling, and it's like a beautiful moment to make change. And so I'm a 26-year-old kid, and I decided that I am going to change the world with organic baby food. And at the time, 4% of the market was organic. And I saw an opportunity to make a difference, and I thought, let's think outside the jar, you know. And so today, I'm going to tell you a few things about the hard times, because it sounds like really rainbows and sunshine, I think, from what I just said. Maybe not the motel room part, but I want to tell you about how hard it's been. And I want to tell you about how having a mission and always staying true to that mission has not only allowed me to get through the hard times, but has allowed me to create a bigger, better, more successful, and more foolproof business. And so then it works both ways. You know, when we first launched, the dream was to change the way children are fed in our country. And I'm thinking, well, the alternative to the jar is basically homemade baby food. So how do you make homemade baby food and sell it? Well, that's hard. So what we did is we had these ice cube trays, and it was basically like frozen baby food, like the way you would make it yourself. You like, you know, steam the vegetables and the fruit, mix them, puree them, and then freeze them in an ice cube tray, and then pop out what you need as you need it. As your baby grows, you have what you need. And the thing is, and I had this big dream, okay, I'm going to change the world with this, and we're going to get to $50 million in sales in 5 years, because that's what we all put in our business plans, you know. And the truth is, we launched in 2006 on Mother's Day. I was doing a demo in a Whole Foods maybe like 3 or 4 weeks after we launched. I mean, nobody, like if somebody bought one of those boxes of baby food, I would cry and get down on my knees and like thank them. I mean, nobody was going to buy it. And it was because even though the mission was true and the vision was kind of right to find something that was the alternative to the jar, it actually wasn't frozen baby food. And that was too much of an ask to change consumer behavior. But I stayed true to the mission. And today, to give us just a narrative, I'm going to tell you 3 stories. One's about a truck, one's about a book, and one is an email, to kind of give you a sense of how just 3 random things have touched my life and my business, and now so many people in this awesome country that I still love. So this is the truck. And I bought this truck on my credit card. It was $7,400. My husband almost divorced me. We did not have money for groceries. At the time, he used to play pool. We lived in Jersey City in an apartment that is the size of this stage, and it was like underground. And he would play pool at this local pool house. On Thursdays or Tuesdays, they would have like a tournament, and whoever won would come home with $40. And it was like a really big deal when he would win. So I just want you to know that. And I'm like the crazy person who was like, no, Joe, I need to tell people that we are doing something different. I need a truck, and it needs to symbolize to children that health can be about something that tastes good, that's not sugary and fatty and ice cream and garbage. And you know, he thought I was crazy, and I bought a truck, and we branded it And then one day, I saw this contest, and a friend of mine sent it to me and said, maybe you should, apply for this contest. And I put in this application, and it turned out it was American Express and NBC, and then the contest was called Shine a Light, and it was to highlight to Americans businesses that were moving forward in this economy. And I wrote this whole story, and it was midnight, and all of a sudden I realized, I have to get 50 people to endorse me. So my husband and I used our wedding contact list, and all of them miraculously endorsed us in time. And we did have these happy mamas that also were local health and wellness ambassadors. And around this time, the company might have been doing $2 million in sales. I never had enough money to pay payroll. I was always raising money. I was always the person with my hand out. I raised money from people, checks as small as $2,500. And I was grateful for it, for the support. I never took a penny of venture capital. And one day, I get a call, and it was somebody from NBC, and they said, well, we got over 5,000 entries, and we have selected you as one of the top 3 most inspiring businesses in the country. Where are you going to be tomorrow? Because we're going to film a commercial. And I'm not going to show you that commercial. It's good, but I'm really pregnant and not very attractive in it. You can Google it. It's a nice commercial, okay? But I want to show you this one because this one is more of a pump up for you guys, the entrepreneurs who will get this. So can we cue the video, please?
Every story needs a hero we can all root for, who beats the odds and comes out on top. But this isn't just a Hollywood storyline. It's happening every day all across America. Every time a storefront opens, or the midnight oil is burned, or when someone chases a dream, not just a dollar. They are small business owners. So if you want to root for a real hero, support small business. Shop small.
Okay, so that came out in 2010. That was my son Zane. He was born in January, so it must have been August, September it came out. They ended up, we had our own commercial, you'll see it at some point maybe. They played it during the Super Bowl pregame. They played it before the Golden Globes announced Best Picture of the Year. They played a spot about us and me and Zane and making homemade food and why that's important. And you know what was the highlight of why Crispin Porter Bogusky, which was Amex's agency, loved all that footage? And it ended up turning into this whole massive other campaign. By the way, we didn't win. We weren't the most inspiring business in the country. We were the second most. But it ended up turning into this commercial later that just absolutely, it's like having an Oprah moment every day for 6 months after we got national distribution in Target. And you know why they loved that video? Because we got so much good footage of all these cute babies in front of that truck. So that's the truck. I encourage you to watch the other commercials. There's one that'll make you cry. It's very sweet. But I'll also say part of that is because, when you do something with a pure heart, I think people recognize that you have a purity of purpose and they like to support you. And it sounds like a lot of that is happening here today, and I'm sorry to have missed some of the sessions, but it sounds like there are a lot of people who are not only innovating to create strong businesses, but to do it in a way that's meaningful, and I'm so excited about that. This is the book. So, it's one thing to come up here and say, oh, we have this big business and we make sell so much product. Part of selling product and having a consumer-facing brand that talks to young mothers is about having the responsibility and the wherewithal to stand up to people when they're saying things that don't feel right. So I was on a panel. It was our 10-year anniversary. I was pregnant with my daughter, Asha. I had been on bed rest. I come off the panel just to do this, come off of bed rest just to do this panel. And it was all about these really great moms. One of them was Mark Zuckerberg's sister, Randy Zuckerberg. Another was this Vogue editor who has twins, and there was another one that was also like super special. And the panelist, the moderator rather, was a woman who wrote this book. And this was, I don't know, I guess 2015. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm doing my best. And I answer the questions just the way I am today. And then at the end, she asked the question, okay, well, let's talk about being a shitty mom. What's your shitty mom moment? And everybody answers their question. You know, oh, I did this, and the diaper did this, and I, you know, whatever the thing is. And you guys can also go and watch this if you want to also tear up a little bit, because I teared up. It was on AOL Build. And she asked me, what is your shitty mom moment? And I said, I got upset, and I said, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm not a shitty mom. I'm a fucking awesome mom. And I mean it. I have a child with severe special needs. Like, I'm not a shitty mom. Stop the conversation. Like, I'm incredible, you're incredible. Let's all support each other and do the best we can. What is this guilt thing? And so the book, Shitty Mom, made me realize that with this success and with a bit of a platform comes a responsibility of how you talk to people. And so, you know, I mean, this is another book, which is my cookbook, which shares all of our recipes, which also says, hey, this is not about you having to go out and buy products. I'm totally supportive. If you want to make everything yourself, here are all of our recipes we want to share. We want to support you in whichever choice you make. But what it inspired when we launched into infant feeding, which means breastfeeding and formula, is we have breastfeeding support and breastfeeding nutrition, and then we have infant formula. And I wanted to have parents, especially working moms, to have an option that they could feel good about with infant formula that was the best organic infant formula in the world. And what I learned from that book is that you don't talk to people and make them feel guilty and make them feel like they're not enough. And from that one experience, it kind of set the voice for this one. So if you guys don't mind cueing, you can watch how that moment changed the way we talk to people.
It's hard to believe it's possible to know everything and nothing at exactly the same time. But before you know it, you do. It's natural, but it isn't easy. It's built in, but it still takes a lot of work. A lot of work. And just when you think you have a plan, it changes. No one tells you how hard it is to change, to embrace that plan D, that plan E, that plan F, or that you can, that you will, that no matter what, you will. Because there are so many ways to do this right, and no plan, no list, no thing means as much as this.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to show you how little things can make a difference. And this is another line that we launched. Parents would say, well, I want to see what I'm feeding my kid. And I said, well, let's make something that's truly transparent. So we made the first ever fully transparent pouch. And not only is it fully transparent so you can see through it, we put the entire recipe on the back of the pouch. And then we also went to all of the farmers who grew all the ingredients and let them tell their story as to why it's important for them to farm food sustainably and organically. And this has been one probably one of the most successful launches of a baby food line in the history of baby food for us happened in 2015 and 16, many years after we launched. But just to show you that the idea of thinking outside the jar allowed us to innovate out in frozen, but frozen didn't work. And we finally started having our big break when we found this technology and this innovation to create a really premium product that's transparent and truly sustainable, but in a way that parents wanted and in a way that could help change their behavior. And if you go to the grocery stores now, you see a lot of these. And one of the things that I'm very proud of, these are my children, and my children have grown up on our food. And I believe that when you care about something and you're in a position of leadership and you've had a personal pain point yourself, you do something to create something for others that's good enough for your children, it sends a good signal. And my kids are also very cute. And that takes me to the email. And I know we are you guys bored? Do you want more? I can't tell. Keep going? Okay. Well, this is funny because the whole dream initially was to think outside the jar. But I'm going to read you an email that I got from a woman named Amy, February 10th, 2011. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Dear Happy Baby Food Company, I'm writing this letter to thank you for your product and share a little bit about why I'm so thrilled. Almost a year ago, I gave birth to a 24-week premature baby named Avery. He weighed a mere 1 pound, 5 ounces at birth and just 12 inches long. He was born 16 weeks premature and given a 90% chance to die and a 10% chance to live. Avery spent 4 months in the neonatal intensive care unit and arrived home in June last year. During his weeks, he developed severe reflux, had trouble tolerating his feeds, and the list goes on. We were grateful that we found a hypoallergenic formula, and he seemed to be gaining weight well and growing finally. As Avery grew, we needed to add in solid foods, and each week we would try and fail, and this went on for months before he was finally able to tolerate solids. We decided an organic diet would be best due to his extreme situation, and after a slow start, he began to eat fruits one by one. When it came to vegetables, he was hard set on not eating them, and he would gag, spit it out, and do everything possible to avoid. Through another mom, I came across your product and decided to give it a try. Avery loved the fruits in stage 1, so I tried stage 2, and blah, 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 blah. This little boy ate the entire package. I thought it might be beginner's luck, so I tried a few other flavors over the next few days, only to discover that he will eat vegetables and like them. I really appreciate you for creating an organic product with a great variety that I can use for our special situation. I've been telling everyone that will listen about how wonderful your products are, and I realized today that I needed to tell you. This is the part where, also due to the extreme situation we're in, I had to give up my job in order to move home to care for Avery, and our financial situation is grim. We're managing to make it. And I was wondering if you had any sort of discounted program where I might be able to obtain your product at a reduced rate. We qualify for the Women, Infant, Children program, but they don't allow for organic food. And I'm not comfortable giving him all those unnecessary additives, nor do I believe he will tolerate them based on his diet. I'd really appreciate anything your company can do to help out so we can continue to provide Avery with the best nutrition possible to ensure his growth and develop. You see how small he is? No, it gets better. So this is my email back, February 10th, 2011. Dear Amy, thank you for sharing your story with us. He's a true miracle and such a beautiful little guy. We're very committed to making our products accessible to all babies, as we believe every baby deserves to be a happy baby. And to that end, we're lobbying for WIC to be extended to organics in all states. Your story will help us get there. In the meantime, we believe it's a long road. We'd like to send you and Avery a gift. From the bottom of our hearts, as a mother with a son born around the same time, we're touched and that we've been able to help his growth and development and want to do as much as we can to continue to grow his perfect little body. So today, now that was 2011, we went back to the jar, and guess why? Jars, we have lobbied state by state, And now there are 13 states in the country that allow moms on the Women, Infant, Children program to use their dollars to buy organic baby food. And we are in 13 states with our jars. And I tell you about it because this is a premium product. We produce it in a premium way. It's organic and sustainable, and every baby deserves to have access to the best. And for me, you get an email like that and you're in a position of leadership, you need to do something about it. This actually is one of the farmers who grows our kale and our carrots. And when I think about what's next for Happy, I think, well, how do we give back to these communities? And we're working now to, democratize organic for all babies. Half of the babies born in our country are born into WIC. Did you know that? There's 4 million babies born a year, 2 million are born into WIC. So, not for nothing, it makes good business sense to also be able to service the WIC population. And I'm really proud of the way we've done it because I believe it reflects our purity of purpose. So what's next for Happy? We are purchasing a farm. We've created best practices to help farmers improve their regenerative agricultural practices, which actually gives back to the soil. We've probably diverted hundreds of thousands of pounds of pesticides and toxins out of the bodies of our babies and our soil. And the market, when I started, which was around 3%, is now probably 35% of the market is organic, and Happy is the leader in that space. And I'm happy that there are other brands also in the space. And I think that, it's the kind of thing where every once in a while it feels good to get a pat on the back. And I'm going to share with you the last of my 3 videos. This was a really good pat on the back, and it's nice to see this guy again every once in a while. So maybe today's a good moment to cue the next video.
The dreamers, the creators whose ideas are pioneering new industries, creating new jobs, and unleashing new opportunities for all of us. We celebrate entrepreneurs like Shazi Visram, whose parents came here from Pakistan and Tanzania to give their children a better life. And as the founder, CEO, and chief mom of Happy Family, Shazi is a leader in affordable organic foods for children, which makes Michelle very happy. In just 7 years, she's grown to 58 full-time employees, 75 part-time working moms, and they're on track to hit $100 million in revenue this year. So no wonder she's been called a rock star of the new economy. By the way, every time that they sell one of their products, they contribute to global efforts to end child hunger. So Shazi's not only just an outstanding businesswoman, but also a leader that all of us can emulate.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to not show that to people. Wait, I want to go back. Besides, that was the, probably one of my biggest highlights of my life. I've been recognized a lot. I've gotten a lot of awards. They're nice, it feels good. In 2013, I sold the majority of my company to Group Danone. So I can tell you that I have now also achieved financial success in a way that I never dreamt would happen. And, the thing that I have to tell you that I'm the most proud of, and I'm sure many of you in this room will win and get all of these awards and these accolades. The thing that I'm most proud of is this. This is the Happy Family Children's Village in Tanzania that I built for my dad. He passed away. And this is to create opportunity for others. And so Sorry, it's been 6 years, but it still gets me. There are 100 children that get to live in this village, eat good food, get good education, and get the chance to go to college and have every opportunity I had. And so, in closing, what I want to ask you, leave you guys with, is what's your mission? What's your ice cream truck? What's your book? You know, what's your email? You all have these. And honestly, what's the why? Like, what's your end game? What is your orphanage? What do you want to build? So I think a lot of you probably have those answers within you, but sometimes it's nice to hear someone else's story to remind you to ask and to remind you to listen when those moments happen to you. Because I can guarantee you it'll make you a better person, and it'll make your businesses stronger and better equipped to move into the future in a stronger way. Yeah, that's it. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my next business, but only in a tiny. So I left happy as the CEO in January of last year. I felt like I'd done my job. We're the #2 baby food brand in the country, only next to Gerber, and that will change. And we're the #1 organic brand, and I felt like I had done enough to change children's nutrition. But as I mentioned, I have a child with autism. And in a personal way, I learned so much about what is plaguing our children today. And I learned so much about what I could do to help prevent any exposure to my daughter Asha, who's 3, and we struggled a lot to have her and to make sure that she would be born healthy and have every potential to be her highest self. And along the journey, I assembled some pretty amazing resources and a lot of knowledge. And Asha is such a bright light. And Zayn is my teacher, and Asha, in a way, is like my boss. And I'm creating a new company. It's called Healthy Nest. And the dream is to provide a developmental resource to new parents and babies so we can encourage our children to achieve their highest possible outcomes. And I can't tell you exactly when it's going to launch, but I hope it's in early 2020. And that's the story. I'm really excited to be here. I hope that this was meaningful for you guys. It's special for me to tell the story every once in a while and reground me and remind myself who I am, which I have to say, I am a lion, and so are you guys. And it's really nice to be here with you today. Thank you.